Great.
Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afker, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness. Happy to have you with us, whether on the live call or on the replay. And also really excited that Christine Volden is with us for the first time on the show. And the first time I heard her on another show, I really felt like there is strong energy that she embodies. And also through the interaction, she really, how to say, can hold a space for others. And in a way that's like the energy can be reflecting our true self or our true energy, our true power that we can also call in and embody. So I really love that. And also I love that the subject that she will be sharing with us today, because it's something that as empath we experience maybe several times in our life, and it's a little difficult to understand why we attract some kind of relationships which are narcissistic, and also because it can be difficult to deal with that. It takes so much of our energy, and it becomes difficult to direct that energy toward the things that we want to create in life, and toward the path that we want to walk. So yeah, for those of you who are new to her, she is a psychic, energy healer, spiritual teacher, entrepreneur, and speaker. And yeah, so as I mentioned, the subject is the reason behind the reason why empath attract narcissistic people, and how can we break free from that pattern. And also we'll have a Q&A where you can ask Christine your questions. So as always, if you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand by pressing react, then raise hand. If you are on the phone, you can press 9. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. So yeah, so with that, Christine, welcome to the show. Happy to have you with us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Wonderful. So yeah, in the beginning, I would love if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and also the work you are offering.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of came to this to this whole world over quite a bit of time, and really a big journey through self-acceptance, because I've always had really strong intuitive gifts. But they really scared me, and I didn't really understand them. So I mean, my whole life I was kind of struggling with this idea, and my main gift is claircognizance, so that's clear knowing, right? I would just know things. And I feel like that's one of the trickiest gifts in today's world, because people who have this gift, we don't know why we know things. And then people are constantly asking us for proof or, evidence of why we believe something, and we don't always have it. And so I really allowed people to talk me out of it for so long. I remember even there was a job that I had accepted, and I just knew in my gut that it wasn't right for me. And I kept telling people, I was like, I think I should just not, go forward with this job. And everyone said, no, you're just overthinking it. And then, of course, the job like ended up being very short term. It was like a kind of a disaster. And I was like, wow, that was a great lesson for me to really pay attention to my knowingness. So I really worked for a long time in the corporate environment. And I think this topic is very, very relevant to that arena. I just want to say, because it's really tricky for a lot of people in kind of a corporate setting, because at least in my experience and what I saw, was that a lot of people are disconnected from themselves. So I kind of did that for 15 years. I worked in sales with big, Fortune 500 companies, worked in sales management. And over that time, I just felt like my soul was kind of slowly dying, and I was becoming very, very disconnected from myself. And once I had kids, it was really beautiful the way that really kind of awakened my senses, and I really saw the impact of my life on theirs, and it really motivated me to look at something different. So I started, I had always been an entrepreneur, even though I had worked in the corporate world. Like every few years I would have my own business, but then I would struggle with finances, so I'd be like, oh, I have to go back and get a full-time job. So I went back and forth for a while, and then I really realized, like, hey, this is my path, and this is what I'm meant to do, is really share my intuitive gifts with other people, and more than that, to teach everyone that they have these gifts. Because I really strongly believe that everyone is psychic. And when I say psychic, it just means that that's your intuition, right? Everyone has the ability to tune into it. And my goal is really to teach everyone how to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the introduction. And
Yeah.
yeah, you mentioned one thing is that's something that you experience and we experience as well is that we always um, maybe receive questions from others to prove the choices that we make and
Yeah.
intuitive messages that we receive. But it's like what will be your advice? Because many times we feel intimidated because of the self-worth issues, and maybe we have still
Yeah.
doubts on our gifts.
Yeah, and it's a fine line, right? Because we're here and we're meant to, interact with others. Like we're not meant to be alone. We're meant to be in community and in family and have these beautiful connections with people. But at the same time, it's really important that we take ownership over ourselves. There's this concept that I call seniority. Some people call it sovereignty, but we're all meant to have seniority over our own lives, our beliefs, our experiences, and that's really one of the keys, right? Because it is helpful sometimes to hear advice or hear another person's perspective. Absolutely. But the reality is, we have to make our own decisions. And it's tricky, right? It's not always easy. And I know throughout my life, it just took a really long time for me to trust myself. But the more you do, the more you get better at it and the more you validate it, right? Because as much as other people give you advice, no one has your own life experience, right? No one is you. And like we are all this beautiful combination of the experiences that we've had in life, the places we grew up, the parents we've had, the communities we grew up in, and then all of our experience that shape us to be completely unique. And that's why I love the name of this show, right? We all have our own unique, divine, blueprint. And that is so important to honor that. And so really no one else can know what we know or make decisions for us. We really have to do that ourselves. So I think it's wonderful to have, friendships and relationships where people can give you feedback, but it is really important to know like only you will know the right path for you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And related to the subject today, which is attracting narcissistic relationships by empath, and this affects also maybe in a big way our self-trust. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, but my question is why as empath this is common to happen to us, and sometimes
yeah.
it can happen like several times, not just once.
Yes. Well, I love that you asked that because you kind of like hit the exact, nail on the head. So that trust issue is exactly what we're working on, right? So, I mean, I would guess that everyone here is an empath, and you can type in the chat or raise your hand if you identify as an empath. But almost everyone who has an interest in like spirituality or spiritual gifts, most people identify as empaths. And an empath really, that just means you have the ability to feel the emotions of others and you're like a little bit more in tune with that, right? Like you recognize that. And one of the gifts, right, of being an empath is that you can feel like other people and feel other people's emotions, and that you're very open, and that's like a really beautiful gift. And when someone comes in who has like narcissistic qualities, and I just want to say, like, I don't really love labels and I don't love that label, and I think people probably overuse this term narcissist, but the reality is there's people who take advantage of empaths, right, and leave us feeling a certain way. And, one of the things that we're meant to understand as empaths is that self trust and that self love. And I really believe that that journey with someone who has narcissistic qualities, whether it's a boss or a parent or someone you're in a relationship, I really find that it's really a deep path to self love, right? Because you are put in a situation where you completely doubt yourself, right? And I've had this happen in many relationships in my life. I'd look back like, how could I not have known that? How could I not have seen that? And it's interesting when I fully come out of that relationship and I can look back after several years and I can have gone through healing on it, I can see, wow, after I went through that, I really trust myself so much more. So I don't like to use the word test. I don't think we're tested, but I think we are given these experiences so that we can more deeply dive into the things that are most important for us. And I think if you're an empath, self-love and self-trust are like the most important things, right? And they make us so much stronger. So I think these relationships, as painful and as challenging as they are teaching us like a beautiful lesson. And I think that's really like the lesson and why we're attracting it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love what you mentioned because sometimes we can also fall into victimhood and we start blaming the other person instead
Yes.
of trying to understand like how this happened and how energetically we are attracting this. Um, so when we are in that state of being of feeling victim to the other person and maybe not taking responsibility of our choices, how can we maybe shift that from that state of being?
Yeah, wonderful question. So I think the important thing to know, and I just want to say, like, it's this is why I really believe so strongly in meditation and like visualization, because when you're in a place of meditation and you can look at these types of relationships, you see them more clearly without judgment for the other person and without judgment for yourself. So when I look at someone who has these narcissistic tendencies, I actually have a lot of compassion. Now, of course, not when I'm in the relationship I'm talking about, when I am reading other people, because I've done so many readings and healings for people who are in these relationships. But what I see is that other person who we view as a narcissist is actually incredibly wounded and also incredibly sensitive in most cases. They're so sensitive that they shut everything down, right? And what they're doing or their behaviors are like really just trying to get like that power back to themselves. I would say though they are like the ultimate victimhood, right? Like as a person who's in that relationship or has had very deep trauma, whether it's from childhood or a variety of different experiences, you do have two choices, right? You can go into victimhood or you can go into seniority. And I find that most people who are a narcissist or we see who have these qualities are someone who has gone totally into victimhood. And then they're trying, what they see is a narcissist who is an empath who hasn't gone there, and they're like, oh, I want that energy because I don't want to be a victim anymore. They don't see this consciously, they see it subconsciously. So I'd almost say like, a narcissist is someone who's an empath and just has gone so deep into victimhood that they feel like they're trapped. They also have the ability to get out of that, situation and get out of that. But an empath, and that's why it's so important for an empath to not go into victimhood, because the more you do, the more, I almost see it as like kind of a spectrum. The more you get into that cycle of taking on those qualities, right? We're almost like just these polarity, these two sides of the coin, right? The empath and the narcissist, but we're actually very similar. So to not go into victimhood, you really have to make a choice, right? And then there's actions behind that choice. And you have to decide, hey, how do I take ownership over this situation? And it's different for everyone. Sometimes it's like, hey, I have to make a conscious choice every day to do something that makes me feel better or to make me feel like I can take my power back. I always tell people who are like really deeply kind of in this wounded state, like, do something where you can go out in nature or go for a walk or get a connection to something that's bigger than you. I think nature is so powerful because I think it represents a power that's bigger than all of us. And if you can connect to that just through, walking or going and sitting by the ocean, if you live by there, or going and walking around trees, like any of that is so helpful. But it's really making sure you're taking concrete behaviors to take ownership over your life. And this is kind of exactly what I teach in my work. I teach what I call energy mastery, which is taking ownership over your own energy, right? And it's a variety of visualizations and meditations that I teach that are exactly about that. About, hey, how do we take ownership over it? So it's not the easiest question to answer. I think there's a lot to it, but it really comes down to you taking a daily action to own your space, to own your relationship with whoever that person was, and to own the relationship with yourself. So it's really about ultimately taking seniority. And I really, for people who are familiar with chakras, I always see that as like a second and third chakra issue, because our third chakra is about running energy through our body and it's our personal power, right? So I really think it's kind of working on those areas.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like when we start taking ownership of our energy, like in my opinion, like things will start fall into place, and also the things that were challenging for us. For example, like setting boundaries, which can be maybe one of the most challenging things for empath
Yes.
to set. It's maybe it can become more easier or more natural to say no when we need to say that. So yeah, and also another thing that we may have as empath is the savior archetype. It's like we try to save others because we feel their
Yes.
emotions, but then we sacrifice ourselves. We don't set
Mm-hmm.
boundaries. Um, so I would love if you can tell us maybe about that, like your perspective about that.
Yeah, that's such a great picture. And I see that come up in a lot of ways. I love that, like, yeah, what you called it, savior complex. I always call it like a responsibility picture, right? And because I see everything in pictures as a clairvoyant. So as a picture, it's kind of like a belief that we have, right? And where does that usually come from? And that's what I'm looking for in readings, and I teach people to look for in themselves. Like, why do you feel like this responsibility to save other people? Sometimes, and I always say these pictures come from a couple different places. A lot of times they come from programming, childhood programming, society programming, religious programming, right? And think about the world that we live in, right? So often we think, oh, I'm only worthy if I try to save someone else. Like, look at the entire history of Christianity. If you were born in the United States, you're exposed to this. The whole idea is Jesus sacrificed, right? So we can be worthy. And they say that, but really what they're teaching is, oh, you should also sacrifice in order to be worthy. So even if you're not a Christian, if you grew up in the US, like, or really anywhere, you're like exposed to this quite a bit. And you're told, like, oh, I have to sacrifice myself in order to be worthy, which is absolutely not true. And I don't think that that's the message in Christianity, but I think that's what people have made us believe. So it's really unfortunate. But really, what I find is it comes down to some type of worthiness. A lot of us feel like we are only worthy if we sacrifice ourselves or we help someone else, right? But the fact is, we came into this life and to this world worthy regardless. We do not need to do anything to be worthy. We don't need to do anything or act any way to feel like we're valid. And I remember the first time someone told me that, it was so many years ago, and I had just started diving into like personal development. And I heard this woman say it on this like group conference call, and I was absolutely in tears because it hit me so hard as this like just knowingness that she was right, and I didn't know why, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't, like, I just needed someone to tell me that, like, you don't need to do anything to be worthy. And that's so important because many of us don't believe that. And it's not our fault, right? That's constantly reinforced by the places that we live, the community that we hear about. I mean, you look at even on social media or in the media in general, there's this glorified idea of someone who sacrifices. You see it all the time. And then you see people who have really strong boundaries who are criticized, right? Especially I see this a lot for women or for anyone who's sensitive, right? You have boundaries or you say, hey, I can't do that. You're kind of like looked at as someone who's selfish. And it's really a shame that, that's really reinforced by our society, because we have to take care of ourselves first. That is our responsibility. And when we do that, we set an example for others. We set an example for other family members, for our children, for everyone around us when we do that. But we have to see that, hey, this is something that's been programmed and this is something that people glorify that really isn't valid. So I think, it is something that I see all the time, and it's not our fault, right? We were either born into this or we've taken on this programming, and we have to understand that we don't have to do anything to be worthy, because that's really what it is. It's a worthiness issue.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love that. And also, as you were mentioning that, I had a question in mind is like the need to feel worthy before receiving the things that we want or live the life that we
Yes.
want. Does
Hmm.
it affect? Because we also, I feel we have in the collective, there is a belief that we need to be worthy, like we need to work hard for something to be manifested,
Yeah.
or we need to maybe suffer for some time in our path
Yeah.
before we succeed or we create the life that we want. and this is also supported by movies and many things. So how do you see that's related to self-worth?
Yeah, I mean, I see that all the time too. Yeah, even in like, I can't I have to give before I receive, right? I don't feel comfortable giving before I receive. Now, it's funny because my background is in sales, right? In the corporate world, I did sales all the time, right? And I felt it there too, right? I can't ask for money or ask someone to buy a product until I do something, right? And I used to be available at all hours of the day for clients, right? I would go overboard, doing whatever they needed before they even bought anything from me. And, it took me a long time to realize, like, wait a minute, like what I'm selling is really valuable. Like, yes, of course, they're my potential client. I'm going to provide them things, but I do have to have a boundary. And it took me a long time. And I always say, like, selling is a very spiritual practice. If you're especially a spiritual entrepreneur, you learn so much about yourself and about your own self-worth through this experience of like selling things. So, but to answer your question of like why we think that, again, I think it's a lot of programming where, I've looked so much at just the energy of selling, and it's so fascinating because there's this like collective energy that suppresses people. Because I always say selling is asking for what you want, right? At its most basic level. So it doesn't even mean that you're like a business person selling the product. Like when you're trying to convince, a loved one to go on a hike with you, or when you're trying to convince your kids to put your shoes on, or really like, you're just trying to get someone's time and attention. That's all a form of selling, right? It's all asking for what you want. And, at our core, again, it comes down to this worthiness. Like, why do we not believe we're worthy of asking for what we want? And, there's this collective energy that pushes people down, that makes them think that, hey, you're not, you have to do something in order to receive it. You have to accomplish something in order to be worthy. Right. And I feel like that's a big lie. Everyone has been told that we have to do that. And it's not true. And it comes from a bunch of different places. It comes from the collective. It comes from, again, programming. And I would say it also comes from past lives in some cases. That's like when I look at readings, those are the three areas that I look at, are those three areas. But I do think, in some ways we're here on earth as humans and spirits in a body to kind of like overcome those really, really core base beliefs that we need to do something to be worthy. And it's almost like this really big fear picture, right? So many people have this fear and they don't know where it comes from, and they don't know what it's about. And it might just be, a small fear, or it might be a big fear. They might notice it comes, across in a lot of areas of their life or just one. But the reality is like there's this big fear energy, and I feel like one of our goals as humans is to surpass that, because a lot of the fear is in our heads and it's made up. And it's something that we, again, going back to taking seniority over your life, like once we take seniority, we're like, this whole fear thing, is this even my fear, or is this like a collective fear? And I think it's something that we're meant to work through.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Many times we experience that where we don't know what we are feeling and why we are feeling it.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. And also maybe I have a question I didn't ask in the beginning.
Hmm.
Um, because when we are in a narcissistic like relationship, we don't think like if we are in it in a relationship that have those dynamics, because we just think about surviving and solving a problem. So how can we know that we are in a narcissistic relationship?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good point, right? Because a lot of like this fear comes from our root chakra, our first chakra, right? Because that's keeping the body alive. And I feel like so often, and part of this is my experience, but also doing so many like readings and counselings for other people. But I think sometimes, the reality is when you think about like basic survival needs as a human, it's the obvious things. It's, food, shelter, but it's also love. And sometimes we meet someone and like the dynamic, and this could also be in a work relationship. It's like that attention and love is something that we needed to survive, right? Like we need human connections. Babies die if they're not held when they're born, right? And if they're not nurtured, as do almost all animals, right? Like we need human nurturing. So sometimes it's just like that's our, our root chakra. And it's like, hey, I might not know, there might be some red flags, and there might be some things that, you definitely see the red flags later. But even when you're in it, a lot of times I'll talk to people and they'll be like, yeah, I noticed it. And I know for myself, I noticed it. But that need and that survival need for human connection and love is so strong that it kind of overrides everything. And that's, again, why it comes from self love. Because if you are able to give that love to yourself, then it doesn't become the survival instinct anymore. It's not like, hey, I need human connection or else I feel like I'm literally going to die. And I know we don't have consciously have that thought, but it is a subconscious need. We need human connection. And so that's another reason why, I know for myself, like I'm a really strong, independent woman, right? But I know if I look back at these relationships, it's when I wasn't nurturing my friendships, right? I wasn't nurturing the other connections that I had outside. And then I looked at, this relationship came in where, oh, there's all this attention and what I thought was love. And I'm like, oh, I really need that right now. So like I'm able to have compassion about myself and see that now, like that's what I needed at that time. And yeah, and unfortunately it's like really hard when you get into it to get out of it. But I have so much compassion for people because sometimes we just need that human connection. So I think that's really where it comes from. And I would say if you want to kind of protect yourself against it, like nurture those friendships that you have, nurture the connections that you have with other people, because it's so vital to our basic survival. We need other people. And so we are the most vulnerable as empaths when we isolate ourselves, when we are not nurturing, our connections with others and our connection with ourselves. But it's a human need, right? To have connection and to have love.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that you mentioned that because many times, especially after challenging relationship, we start building walls around our hearts and protecting our hearts.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then we
And
don't
that's
honor
yeah.
our needs. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say honestly, for the people who are the people that we identify as narcissists, they've been through that so many times and they've gone into this isolation, right? And I would say that's, the person who's been through everything that we've been through and then gone, into total isolation, right? And they are too just grasping like, oh my God, I need love or I need attention, right? They're doing the same things that we are doing from a different space. So, again, I just have so much compassion for either side because we're so drawn to each other because of that just need of like connection and love.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like having compassion is really essential. And I don't know, maybe not not for all of us, but sometimes we can find like in the past that we've been also on the other side, like being the narcissistic
Yeah. Yes.
person.
And yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for saying that. Cause I always say, I always look at, I have a gift for seeing past lives. And so I always look at this in readings and I see it for myself too. But I've seen almost, and that's a big thing we're trying to heal. So many times, like I saw one relationship, and this was like way back when I was younger, where I was in a really toxic relationship. But it was so interesting because when I looked at our past lives, I was the toxic one. And I was really, really did some horrible things to that person. And I felt like in my space, there was a lot of guilt. And so I allowed him to do that to me because there was guilt. And I always say that the gift of past lives is that you see, hey, we've all been narcissists and we've all been empaths. We've all been murderers and we've all been murdered. Like we really have. And when you're able to look at that, like as a past life, you can see the compassion because none of us as a soul sign up to do something horrible, right? Our souls are all pure. And I had a discussion with this the other day and someone disagreed, but I really believe no soul has evil or badness. We're all love to start, right? And then we come into these situations and sometimes, I really believe we kind of like plan these things before we come here into these bodies. And sometimes some of us volunteer to be, what we would call the bad guy because it's a gift for someone. It's a gift to teach someone something and for them to, be on the receiving end of that because there's a lesson that we're meant to learn. People say these phrases like, oh, everything happens for a reason. And people get really upset when people say that, especially if something bad has happened to them. But I would say everything happens for a lesson, right? There's always a lesson in everything that comes from us. Yes, even in the most horrific things, yes, there really is a lesson. And a lot of times we did choose that. And when we're looking at it consciously, we're like, oh, no one would ever choose that. When you're able to look at that without judgment from like a meditation space, you don't see it as good or bad. You see, yeah, someone chose that. So I think that's very true. We've all kind of had those experiences, and yeah, even in this lifetime, but also in past lifetimes. So sometimes we're even like completing something, right? From a past life. It's like, hey, we didn't learn that lesson, so let's try it the reverse and let's try it this way and see if we learn it. And that's why we're attracting it again over and over again. I know in my lifetime, I've attracted it in so many different ways. And each time I'm learning something different because it's not like this is a one and done thing, right? This is a really like self-love is a huge lesson. So we're not going to learn it just from one experience or one relationship. It's going to come up again and again. And it's up to us to learn the lesson so that the next time it's like a little bit easier or, we learn a different part of it. So I always just tell people like have compassion because it's almost like the more difficult the situation, the bigger the lesson. And our goal is really to learn it.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And also, from my personal experience, probably it was maybe the most challenging experience I had. Um, Someone I knew like challenged me in so many ways, and it was so triggering. But at the same time, because also I was like it directs me to the parts of myself that's I neglected, and also were ashamed of. And when I look back, after that experience, like a huge shift happened, and also it helped me to balance my energy, like the masculine and the feminine. And yeah, now I can see that it was a gift, even though it was very very challenging.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Sometimes
yeah,
it takes us a while too. Sometimes we
yeah,
need
yeah,
like,
it does.
sometimes years and decades to see that. So yeah.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
wonderful that you were able to see that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, that was really really amazing discussion, and we loved every points that you mentioned and you shared. So, do we take questions from the audience also?
Yeah, and I saw
Yeah.
quite a few
Yeah.
like I love this conversation, but I saw quite a few comments in the chat that I wanted to address. Like Simone said, yeah, she's an empath for a long time. Only years ago, I got to know about my feelings and emotions. So, yeah, a lot of times as empaths, we don't realize it. So, I just want to validate that too. There's so many people, like people like use the word empath so broadly, and I don't know. I feel like the definition has changed, but really, like most people are empathic, but when you feel the emotions about some people are like super empaths and they really are feeling other people's emotions. So everyone I think is on a spectrum there. Um, and someone said, oh yeah, we get to know what self-love is at the most deepest level. And Annette said, since I was a little girl, I was told and shown with family, peers, and society that I would never be enough. So I created a frequency at a young age that attracted toxic relationships. Okay, that's a great, great example, right? So many times we're as family kind of felt like we're not worthy. And that could be, it shows up in so many ways, right? Christine, can you see if my personal inner work has transmuted that? Yeah, Annette, we can look at that for sure. Um, but let me just see. Okay, but we can take other questions. Maybe should we look at that one first?
Yeah, yeah, we can do that.
Okay, wait, so who said that? Sorry, I
Uh,
scrolled up. Oh, Annette.
Annette,
Annette, do
Annette.
you want to unmute yourself? If she's still there.
Yes, she's here.
Okay, maybe we can come back to her because I think she's still on mute.
Yeah.
I am
Oh,
unmuted. Thank
Oh,
you.
hi. Hi,
Hi.
Annette. How are you?
Oh, feeling twisted ankle, but loving your
Oh, so
energy.
sorry to hear that. Oh,
I
thank
know.
you.
You really speak to the frequency that we all hold from what we've been through in this life. Uh, and I've been, doing self-help for a couple decades, and I know that I created it. And I was just wondering, am I still holding on to it? Uh, can you really transmute it? Or can you see if I've addressed and created healthy boundaries against future toxic relationships from simply seeing it and understanding that I created it and I can uncreate it?
Sure. So first of all, I just want to say everyone has the ability to transmute it, like everyone, 100%, right? And sometimes it is just seeing it, but sometimes it's also releasing the programming around this, right? So this is kind of what I do in my energy mastery program. I teach people tools to like release it from their energy system. So I'm happy to like look at this for you. I'm just going to close my eyes so I can go into a meditation space and kind of tune into this. Um, and see where I see it in your energy. Because I definitely see you've cleared a lot from your third chakra. And like I was saying, that's your power and energy distribution throughout your body. And you've cleaned out like a lot of cords there, right? People cord you, and it's not even people, like sometimes beliefs cord you, right? So I do see you've let go of this belief that you would not be enough. You have a lot of past lives too that are related to this. So this has been like a kind of theme that you've been working on for a long time, many lifetimes, is kind of like taking your own seniority. I do see that your second, right? Our second chakra is feeling the emotions of others. It's like your clairsentience, right? And I do see you're very open there, and that you're still like a little bit like there's, how do I describe it? There's still a sensitivity and like a worry there. And that, when we have a worry, like, I see like a fear there that could still come in. And that's what I would say you want to still keep working on, is that fear, because the fear, when a fear comes in, it allows other energies to come in. Right. So, that's something I would work on, is taking seniority over your space. And when you take seniority, right, you can take seniority over yourself. You can take seniority over a relationship. You can take seniority over an idea. So you can say, I'm going to take seniority over my belief around relationships, right? And all you have to do that is kind of like intend that. And for you, it's very much about releasing that fear energy around attracting it again, because that's what's in your space. Because it does look like, yeah, you've released a lot of stuff, but when we still have this fear that we're going to attract it, that fear comes from like you not taking ownership, right? When you take total ownership, you're like, I'm not scared because I own this, and I own this idea around relationships, and I'm not going to, let anyone in. So I would say that's what I would work on releasing for you, and just simply setting that intention. Because I would say the opposite of fear, someone wrote, oh, fear is the absence of love and trust. But to get rid of fear, you need to take ownership over it. So think about, for you, how can I take ownership over this idea and release this fear? And I think for you that will do quite a bit. But you've done a lot of work, I can see. So great job. But just know it's kind of a never ending process, not saying that in a negative way, but it's something that we'll all be working on all the time, because there's so many layers to it, right? It's not just like, hey, like I said, it's not a one and done. It's like self-worthiness and stuff like this. It means that you're a very old soul and you're working on something that's like a really, really core human issue, but it's not something that you're going to like just fix and be like, oh yeah, we're good. Does that help? Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Christine. I see the sense where the second chakra, where the fear is of, oh, if I think it's going to happen again, I'm going to attract it again, and I got to control that, and to just give that a break and
Yeah.
trust myself more. And
Yes. Yes.
so, yes, that made a lot of sense. I feel so much better. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Well, I can see that you already know how to work with your energy really well. So you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
beautiful. Thank you, Annette. Much love, and thank you, Christine. And yeah, I agree. Sometimes we attract new kind of relationships or experience in general, but we don't allow ourselves to step into that because we are afraid that it will be similar. To what happened in the past. So yeah, that was beautiful. And we have Elfried. Can you please unmute yourself?
Oh, hello. Oh,
Hello.
how
Hi.
wonderful. I'm so appreciating this. I'm at the point where I'm taking seniority over a situationship that I believed it was a twin flame, where,
Mm,
yeah, I attracted a very narcissistic person, but I never really got into I held my boundaries enough that I had to learn letting go, accepting, stepping into the unknown because I've been holding space for this person that I thought it's a soul bond, it's like a soul
mm,
marriage. And I've been holding space. I'm really been, despite, I lost all my, I mean, I made a point to not quit. And so at this point, I don't care. I'm still holding space, but I need to do my own thing and realize that it takes so much time to grow. What I've been through, I don't know a lot. I don't know people who are going through the same hell, are willing to go through the same hell for a type of relationship I that I deserve.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I just very much relate to that. I just want to say those are some of the hardest when we have that deep, deep connection with someone, right? And then for us to walk away and choose ourselves, it's like, first of all, that is such a huge milestone for you as a soul. I did this a couple years ago as well. And to walk away from something that you think is like, the deepest, most intense connection and to choose yourself is something that like you will first of all always be rewarded for. You might not even see it right away, but that is like graduate level soul work. So so good job. So do you have a specific question about that?
Well, I have this fantasy that he's gonna grow, but maybe not at the pace, not being able to keep pace. I don't know. That's a
Yeah.
judgment, maybe. That
Yeah.
I would be open to be in relationship, but it needs to be on the same level. And I realistically, I mean, people can't work that fast. Is there a possibility within a year that he's going to be at that? I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Timelines are always tricky. It could be a year, it could be a day, because time is not linear. And that's why when I do readings, I always say I can't tell the future. I can't look at time because time is not linear and it's always shifting. Here's what I will tell you that I know for sure. The best thing that you can do is to be like your best self because you have such a close tie and your energy is probably still very much connected. The work you do on yourself is going to do work is going to heal him and everyone connected to you. So the more that you take ownership over yourself and kind of release that relationship and just understand like, hey, if this is divinely guided and we're meant to come back together, you will. Absolutely. But don't hold on to that because you have to let it go so that it can come back. And you have to like you have to treat yourself the way you would want him or them to treat themselves. Right. So it's almost like you have to be the teacher and you have to embody it. That person is very much mirroring you or and they have their own lessons to learn. You can't control it, right? I always tell people in relationships, you can never control the other person. You can't control their healing. The only thing you control is you. And if you want to affect them, especially if you still have a connection, the best thing you can do is to heal yourself and work on like the deepest healing for you, and your boundaries. But don't, I would say don't like wait, don't hold out I mean, it's hard to not have hope, of course, right? Because it's a really beautiful, deep relationship. But sometimes that relationship is just meant to show you something and for you to find the deepest love within yourself. So that's what I can tell you. Like, of course, we always hold out hope for these. But at the same time, what I've seen, and I have had guides show me this, is if I don't let that go, I can't let in something even better, right? Because even though you think like, God, there couldn't be anything better than this, the crazy thing is there actually is. There is something even better than that. And if you keep holding on to that, you're keeping a space closed where that new relationship might want to come in. So that's why I say, like, as hard as it is, and as much as you want that to work out, imagine if you had someone like that, even better, who is on your same frequency, If you can let that go, you can allow that to come in, because you've done amazing, amazing work by separating from that. And you have the ability to now call in something even higher.
Mhm. Thank you so much for the confirmation. I
Yeah.
can stand alone and know that I'll be provided for whatever I need. And thank you for going there before me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because I know how hard it is.
Yeah. Bless
Yeah,
you.
Awesome.
Good
You
job.
too.
wonderful. Thank you, Alfred. And also, thank you, Christine, for the guidance. And we will take more questions in a few minutes. Just before that, I also would love if you can tell us about the 2-hour workshop that you will be holding on August 27th. And it is
Yeah.
the path to healing for empath. And so we have that part of the special offer today. And also there is package B, which includes the workshop plus the 30 minutes one-on-one private session, reading session. And I invite everyone to visit the page, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Christine, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Christine.
Yeah. So,
C-H-R-I,
oh, go
uh,
ahead.
CHRISTINE. And also there is a special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description, and I will put it also on the chat boxes. So yeah, Christine, can you please share with us about
Yeah, so I
these
know a lot of
invitations?
people do like meditations and all that stuff. For me, I love to do live workshops because it's really important. The energy of all the people together makes a huge, huge difference. So if you have the chance, I know like the timing, doesn't work for everybody, but you will get an access to the replay. But what I do in these 2-hour workshops is, I talked a lot about energy management and energy mastery, and I actually teach you those specific tools. So what I teach, it's a combination of visualizations and meditations, and I will walk you through 3 or 4 meditations that allow you to, first of all, like release that fear energy, release any cords that you have to any of these relationships, and show you exactly how to take seniority. Right? There's it's a little bit too much to go into here, but I go through very specific and really simple visualizations where you can take ownership over it. And then I give you those meditations afterwards, after the workshop, so you can just listen to them on your own. And they're very short, like 10 minutes long. And I think for that one, I'm going to have 3 to 4 meditations that you can listen to after. But when we do it in the workshop, it's really powerful. So I walk you guys through several of these energy mastery techniques. And then I do one-on-one readings, like during that, usually the last half hour, where I'll really go into looking at your core issues, kind of like doing a reading, kind of like I'm doing now, but we go into it a lot more in depth. And then we can look at it and see like, oh, is this a past life connection? Is this programming from childhood? Is this something else? Like what's still there? What has been healed? And the way that I do work is I do healing as well. So I'm able to release that energy for you. Because what I'm doing is when I do a reading, I'm kind of reading your higher self. And then what I do is I'm able to remove the energy, which is usually the emotional charge, right? That's blocking our energy field. And then I'm able to like work with you and your higher self to heal it. So we're able to release it. And that's like so powerful. I know Belinda has experienced it because she's done sessions with me before. And it really is amazing. And I just want to say, I'm the facilitator. You are all like so amazing. So I work with your higher self. For her, when she did the reading, it was amazing because her higher self just took over and moved that energy out. So you are all incredibly powerful. I'm just a facilitator. So I work with all of you to help that happen. So that's what the workshop is. The upsell is if you want to do a one-on-one reading. My one-on-one readings that I offer are 1 hour. I only do 30-minute sessions when I do summits like this. So it's a very special thing. I don't have it available that often. So this is a special deal to do a half hour, which is a little bit more affordable for a lot of people. So if you have the opportunity, like I'd love to work with any of you. I'd love to do readings because it does a healing for you all and it does a healing for me as well. So that's kind of the opportunity that you guys have.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Christine. And Belinda
Mhm.
shared, it was absolutely amazing. I feel so different now. And so thank you for offering the session to our audience who would like to work with you one-on-one, and also the workshop, because many times, especially when we are in the middle of a shift or maybe challenging experience, like there are so many distractions and also pressure that it becomes difficult to see what is happening. But when we have someone who's been through that and know how to navigate that, who can hold the space for us and also guide us, how can we shift our state of being and create a different experience, can really make a big difference in our life. And yeah, thank you for doing that and offering the workshop. And yeah, so again, everyone, you can find and sign up for the either the workshop or the workshop and the one-on-one reading on the page yourdivineuniqueness.com/Christine. And also you can type the button, the special offer button, and it will lead you there. Yeah, so wonderful.
Yeah.
Can we take
And then
more
I
questions?
really want, yeah, I do want to get to this one question because I think this is so important that came into the chat before we go to somebody else. So someone said, how does early life sexual abuse block those lower chakras that allow self-love? And I think this is such an important question. And so many people, including myself, have experienced this. So I just want to talk about this for a minute because, yeah, sexual abuse will definitely affect first chakra. And it's really important to know that sexual energy is life force energy. So when you have that kind of experience and you heal it, right, it is like one of the most powerful things that you can transmute, right? A lot of people, everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people look at sex as a very just, physical thing. But sharing sexual energy with someone is, it is life force energy. Sexual energy, Kundalini energy has the ability to heal your entire body of anything, whether it's beliefs or programming or even physical stuff. I've seen people get amazing healing from that. So it's very powerful because if you can do healing on that, you have the ability to really work with your own life force energy. It is incredibly powerful. So I think the question was, how does it block those lower chakras? Well, it's very connected to when we look at, how society looks at sexuality and our self-worth, especially as women, right? That goes very, very deep. So for each person, it's going to be a little bit different of how you identify with that, especially if you came from an environment or family upgrade up bringing where sex was very shameful, right? Then it's going to be even more intense. But for everyone it's a little bit different. But yeah, it is going to block that self-worth, and it's also going to, like, a lot of times create physical body issues, right? Because if we're not, sexuality, again, it's like a physical body thing. So it could show up. I've seen it cause autoimmune disease. I've seen it create all kinds of like stress and anxiety because our body and our soul are connected, but they also have to work together, right? I when I do readings, I do a body and being reading, right? Because you have your physical body and you have this being that has come into your body, and they don't always agree, right? And there's some conflict. So I see a lot of times it creates a body being conflict, right? And that's really important to look at and to try to resolve because we have to feel safe in our physical body, right? That's all the lower chakras. First, second, and third are like body chakras, right? So it's going to really affect all of those because it's your being in your feeling safe in your body. Yeah, Simone says, creation energy, we manifest with this energy in our lives. Yeah, absolutely. That's like I tell my kids, I'm like, having sex, you're like, it's the ability to create a new person. What's more powerful than that? That's like the most powerful thing on earth. So yeah, so that's just a really great question. And I just wanted to address that because I know so many people like deal with that in their lifetimes, even if it's not early childhood, if it's at any time, it's, I look at it as an opportunity for really, really deep healing. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Christine. And thank you. Yeah, we don't have the name. Thank you, our listener, for the question. So, Simon, can you please unmute yourself?
Oh, hi. That was earlier than I expected. So for me, I had a breakthrough, I would say, because today really I cleared some stuff. And for the first time this day, I really feel fully in my body,
Beautiful.
not being influenced from other people's energies. It's really like, and even I can feel my body starting really to heal. So it's really interesting that I did a lot of work that finally, with letting go of burdens that haven't been mine, I'm really in a good place now. And it's just, I want to know what you actually can see. I can't really say a direct question in
Hmm.
my energy, my body system. So I allow you to look into it.
Okay, yeah, hold on, give me a second. And just say your name for me one more time.
Simone.
Yeah, I see there's like a lot of activation around your fifth chakra. And our fifth is also really responsible for healing because it's about listening to our inner and it's using our outer voice and listening to our inner voice, right? And I just see that's like really activated for you right now in terms of like what, because you said you've kind of done all of this healing and you really feel like safe in your body. A lot of that is you're really doing a wonderful job listening and connecting to your inner voice. That's what I'm seeing most often. So I just want, or most prominently, that's what I want to give you a lot of validation for is you've been listening to your inner voice and it's growing stronger and stronger. And that has allowed you to release a lot of this because I see it was like almost a lot of like programming and like you were saying, other people's energy. And you've just like cleared all of that out. And this is so important because this is what happens. I just saw this in a reading yesterday. When we have so many other people's energies coming in, it's so hard for us to hear our own inner voice, right? And our own inner knowing because it's almost like, it's all this static. We're hearing everybody else's stuff, right? Or maybe we're taking responsibility for it and we're allowing it to cloud our space. What you've done is you've just cleared all of that out. So you're able to hear your own voice and tune into this. So this is a really special time in your life if you can stay in this space and just know, first of all, that it will fluctuate. It's always up and down, right? Our chakras are always moving and opening, closing regardless. So just don't be hard on yourself if it changes, but you have a beautiful opportunity now to really tune in even more to your own higher self and your own inner voice because you've been able to release a lot of that. So that's kind of the main thing I'm seeing. So like beautiful work that you're doing. And just keep doing that and keep validating your inner voice because it's only going to grow stronger the more that you listen to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Simon. And also thank you, Christine, for the guidance. Yeah, there was a question. So yeah, let's go to Erica. Can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, thank you, Monsef and Christine. I
Hi,
too am
Erica.
curious. I'm too curious about chakras. When I meditate, a lot of times I'll notice root chakra sensations and maybe in the legs. But is there, I don't know if blockage is the right word, my second, third chakras, am I allowing things to move?
Okay, say the last part of it again.
They're like blockages in the second or third chakra that my energy's just not flowing.
You said something about your root chakra, though. Can you repeat that? Because I was just seeing something about that for you.
I notice like sensations in my root chakra when I may be
Ah, okay.
meditating.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay, that's what I wanted to tune into. Okay, so let me take a
okay.
look. So you want me to look at the first and second? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, please.
Okay, awesome. So let me just tune into your energy. Because the first thing I was seeing is that there's like a little break in your grounding cord. And that might be part of it. And when I see these things, it's like there's something that's preventing you from grounding. And it definitely looks like other people's energy in there. And there's like a fear picture. But what I would say is like, and this was just the visual I got for you right away. A lot of people ground, they imagine, okay, I'm going to imagine my grounding cord going from the base of my spine all the way down to the center of the earth. Let me give you an alternative for you specifically, just for the next couple of weeks. You can try this because it sounds like you meditate. Um, First of all, imagine that the earth is going to connect to you instead of you connecting to her. So ask your grounding cord to find you. It's going to come all the way from the center of the earth. This is important, all the way up to your first chakra. So ask her to find you instead of you finding the center of the earth. Because I see for you, that's going to be really healing. I see the earth as a beautiful divine feminine being. She provides healing to all of us. Sometimes we need her to connect with us in the beginning for for us to get a little bit more grounded. And I see that's very appropriate for you. So when you ground the next time, just blow up your old grounding cord. Just imagine you're doing that and ask the earth to connect with you from the center of the earth, and to keep you really grounded. Because that, first of all, is going to help you quite a bit because you just have a lot of fear pictures from past lives that are like kind of blocking that grounding, which makes sense, right? We have fear pictures from past lives when there have been like, because I see for you, it's been like extreme events, right? Like dying from natural disasters or, really core survival stuff. So that's why I'm seeing like the earth wants to connect with you, to provide you grounding. And then when I look at your second, it is kind of it's like a party going on of a lot of people's energy up there. So I'm just asking, like, you are one of those people that I would describe as like a super empath, in that like you're taking everything in. And I see for you, it's not just people, but it's places and things, right? We take it, everything has energy, right? And we take it in from everything. And I'm just asking your higher self, like, why you're doing that. And because it's almost like you have an amazing ability to hold space, for people, places, and things, but you're holding it for a lot of things that you don't need to. It's like there's just a lot of garbage in there and a lot of old stuff. And it's almost like you have this idea. It's almost like a kid who's collecting all these things and doesn't want to get rid of, like, their second grade notebook. That's what kind of the visual that I'm seeing. You're like, I don't want to let anything go because what if I need it? And so, and your higher self is just like, it's almost, yeah, like this survival instinct, like, oh, I just want to make sure I'm safe. So if we release all of that, which I'm seeing, like, okay, I'm just asking your higher self, like, let's just try it and see what happens. And as you like slowly release it, I see you're able to come way more into your seniority, because it's just like this, kind of deep fear picture of like, oh, if I let anything go, then I might, yeah, I don't know if I'll be okay. And a lot of it looks like it's a lot of childhood stuff really for you, but I do see you're kind of ready to release it. So I'm just going to do a little healing for you here, because you are like, your higher self is like, yeah, I can let this go. But then the important thing is you want to bring in your own gold there to fill that up, because you might feel like, oh, I'm like, it's kind of like, you save all of these things because they make you feel safe. But like, I just want you to bring in your own gold there into your second, so you can just feel like, hey, I can be safe as I am as an adult now, um, and take all of this in. Yeah, and it looks like you're ready to do that. So just remind yourself, like, hey, you're safe in your body now as you are as an adult. Just keep telling yourself that. And I think you can stay in that spot and just set the intention to release anything old that you don't need anymore, because you're just kind of holding on to that. And I see that a lot, by the way. So it's not anything that's that unusual. So I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you very much. You said to blow up the grounding cord?
Yeah, I always say like blow it
Okay.
up into gold. Just imagine it blowing up into gold. Gold is the highest vibration, and that lets it go and return to wherever it came from. So some of it might be other people or past lives or your own higher self. So yeah, I just blow up everything to gold, do it outside your aura, and then that just sends it back to wherever it came from. And you can always, anyone can do that, right? If you feel like you're not grounded, just blow up your grounding cord and create a new one. And I love that technique of letting the earth connect to you. Like, even when I do my grounding cords, a lot of times it goes crooked and I'm like, I can never figure it out. I've been working on it for years and I'm still like, what is this? Like, and I'm always clearing out stuff. So now I just ask the earth to connect with me and create the grounding cord. And then it's like perfect. And I'm like, oh, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Erica. And thank you, Christine. And our listener who asked about the sexual abuse wrote, thank you, Christine. That was helpful.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm glad. And I know
Yeah,
there's
and,
one other person. I think we lost her. It was Renee, but I think she had a question, but it looks like maybe we lost her. I don't know if
yeah,
she's still on.
I don't think she's here. I don't see her. But yeah, we have
Okay.
Belinda. Can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, thank you,
Hi, how are you?
Christine. I'm well, thank you, and thoroughly enjoyed this section today, so thank you.
Oh, beautiful.
But it has kind of reminded me, well, reminded me about a couple of things, but one thing I'd like answered now, if you can, please, is I, I feel like I've done a lot of work around lower back pain, and that kind of thing. However, today it's quite bad again, and
I'm sorry.
and I, and is there anything else that I should or could be doing about it? Why does it keep coming back when I thought that I'd already cleared it and sorted it out?
Right, right. Yeah. And what I'm picking up for you is like lower back pain is very much, and I don't know if you follow Louise Hay at all. She has all of those, she would say, oh, lower back pain is
Support.
about not feeling supported, right? But it's definitely like a first chakra issue. Um, and yeah, and I am seeing that is the case for you, right? Like feeling unsupported by others, but really, it comes to feeling supported by yourself, like feeling that you can support yourself. So I'm just asking where that picture is like coming in. And for you, what I'm seeing is that it's coming from your dad for some reason, that like you didn't feel supported from him. And there's some like emotionally supported. And that created some picture in your childhood that made you just feel like, oh, like if my dad doesn't support me, then I'm just not supported. So I'm just kind of curious about like what's under, because when I see pictures, I'm like, well, what's underneath that? Like, why did you come in and ask for that kind of relationship with a parent? Like, what were you trying to learn? Or I'm just asking what your core picture is around this and feeling supported. Because it is about like self-worthiness, but I'm just trying to see where it's coming from and what's like the solution for you now. Um, d- you do Reiki? Yes.
Yes,
Am I remembering that right? Yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah, because I'm seeing that you can do this for yourself on some level, because I'm seeing all this like crystalline energy that you're able to use and you're using it for other people. Do you do Reiki on yourself?
I have done a little bit, but I
Yeah, you
possibly
have the
should do
ability
more.
to do this for yourself. You have like amazing abilities. So you're using them for other people, but you're not using them for yourself. So I want to just point something out to you as a fellow healer. And I think I've told you this before, and I told you this in the reading. Every time you do a reading for someone else, you're also doing a reading for yourself, right? There is going to be some, and this is what I teach in my energy mastery, like more intense program. So when I do a reading for someone, there's always one little part. And let me just say, this goes for everyone. If you're a therapist or a coach or a psychic or a healer, everyone, this is the same thing. It is just a universal truth. Every time I do a reading for someone, there's a little thing that I say where I'm like, "Ooh, that's for me too." Right? Or that's an issue I'm also working on. This whole time I've been like, "Yep, me." Same. And my job is after the reading to look at myself and be like, where did that come from for me? What do I need to heal for myself to release that? Right? This is why you're doing Reiki right now. Is so every time you do a healing for someone, you look at that and say, what do I also need to heal? Because this back pain isn't like one thing, it is a myriad of things. It's like I see it as like all these little bits and pieces, like all these little pieces of glass that are connected, right? And it's not, and like you've kind of picked one big thing. You're like, okay, let me just pick like back pain as a main theme, right? Right? We are like some of us pick like a million different things. Some people pick like an intense narcissistic relationship, right? We all pick these different things, but your back pain has a lot of different layers on it. So you have done a great job at doing a lot of healing around it. The reason it comes back is because there's all these little elements that you're still working on. And the way to find these is to keep doing your own healing work, right? So every time you do Reiki for someone else, at the end of that session, look at it and be like, where was my match? What was the thing I needed to see? And then do that healing for you. I do it in about every time I do a reading, I do it for about like 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes even shorter for myself. Like after this whole session, I'll do a little meditation on my own to heal. So do that for yourself. And I would say that's just great advice for any healer because that's why we do healing. Anyone who tells you as a healer you get depleted is wrong. 100%. Everyone, I even hear this, like chiropractors are like, oh, I can't do this forever. Nope, wrong. You can, because you get healing every time you heal, if you set that intention and if you do it the right way. So you just have to look at, what do I need to do for myself? So that's kind of what I'm seeing as your path to healing, is to keep doing that work. And if you have no one to read, like, you can do a reading on a dog, or like, someone you don't even know. If you're like, oh, my back is really hurting today, like find someone that you can do some healing on. It could be a public figure, right? It could be anyone, and just set that intention and then look at what it is for yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely there's different shards of that glass coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
Sexual
Yeah.
abuse, narcissistic abuse, all sorts of different types of
Yeah.
abuse. And you mentioned the not support coming from my dad. Was that well, I think I know the answer. It's probably both, but my biological father or my adopted father, because I have,
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting it was both.
yeah, okay. That's what I got as well. So just thank you for clarifying that. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're a very powerful healer, I know from working with you. So you have the ability to do this. So just keep working on it, and yeah, let me know how it goes.
Thank you so much, Christine. Many blessings. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you, Belinda. And thank you, Christine. We have a comment from Pippa. I have been working on self-love and now friendships are living. Hopefully, non-toxic relationships can come moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really common theme, right? Like once we start loving ourselves, we a lot of things do get released, and it can be very, very hard and temporarily lonely, right? When these things happen, because you do, but if you that's the thing. And I remember a teacher told me this, because I was like, I'm so scared to let go of this thing, right? And for me, it wasn't a relationship, it was like a belief. And she told me, she's like, well, if you don't release it, how can anything new come in? So beautiful job, like kind of releasing those things. And I know it can be really scary. And I think that goes for relationships, it goes for beliefs, all kinds of things. But if we don't let something go, we can't let something else come in. So just know, like, as long as you release something, you're creating space for something more. So beautiful job. Just keep having faith and trust yourself, because the more you do that, the more you can allow those really positive things to come in.
Yeah. Beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Christine, for everything you shared. I really loved the call, everything you shared with us, and also thank you for the
Yeah.
support you gave to our
Yeah, thank you. You've been a
callers.
great interviewer, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Beautiful. And yeah, also everyone, thank you very much for being here with us today, sharing with us this space and time. And again, you can sign up for the program that Christine is offering to us on the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Christine, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Christine, CHRISTINE. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube, video description, and the chat boxes. And yeah, so with that, everyone, I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.